This live event coverage is brought to you by Whole Being Institute, an educational organization focusing on learning and living the science of human flourishing. Take a free week-long course on positive psychology at wholebeinginstitute.com/7-day. Hi, I'm Christina Suzuma with YogaHub.tv here at the FACES Mindfulness and Compassion Conference, San Diego, California, on this gorgeous, blessed day in this fabulous conference of at least 500 people walking in and out. It's been absolutely magnificent. And with me is the founder, Dr. Richard Fields. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Can you tell us, Dr. Fields, how this came to be? This is the 4th annual, but you've just told me that it's been much longer than this.
Yes, we've been doing conferences for about 35 years. And about 8 years ago, I went to a conference at UCLA where Thich Nhat Hanh was there, Jack Kornfield, Tara Brach, and there were 1,500 therapists there. And we did a mindfulness walk. I have arrived, I am home, small steps at a time with Thich Nhat Hanh. Wow. And then we had a silent mindfulness lunch on the quad on a Saturday at UCLA. And it just blew me away, and I said, this is what I want to do. So we transitioned from drug and alcohol conferences, trauma conferences, a variety of different psychological conferences to move more towards compassion and mindfulness. So this is, we also did conferences in La Jolla, we do conferences in Seattle and Oregon, sometimes we're in Santa Fe, variety of places. So
it's wonderful, but it takes a lot to put on a conference.
It does, and what's great about these conferences is the connection, that you could feel the energy here today, and the speakers are great, and we have just wonderful people like Tara Brach and Frank Ostaseski and a variety of people. And it's a very emotional experience, and it's a very connective experience, and that's our mission. You know, other conferences have a big exhibitor hall, and I found that other conferences, the focus began on the finances and the exhibitors, where our focus is on the participant and the speaker. And we do have a limited number of exhibitors that have good heart and good connection and good programs.
Yes. And also, now your conferences, they're also accredited, right, for therapists, etc.?
Well, we have credit for psychologists, social workers, mental health counselors, but we also offer a student registration at a reduced fee. So anybody who's a student of life or a student in a psychology program or a nursing program, we also have people that come for themselves, or everyone comes for themselves, but we focus on giving continuing education credit for all the mental health professionals.
This is really wonderful. Now, are you a doctor of psychology? Or?
Yes.
That's your main background?
Yes. My background really is in drug and alcohol treatment. And so for more than 30 years, I had an outpatient practice. And then I decided to do this full time. And it's a great mission. It's a great mission.
Yes. I'm right with you on that one. We need so much more of this, and our little mantra is one drop is 1,000 waves, and you're just creating all these little droplets, and it's magnificent.
Well, it also, in terms of not just mindfulness and compassion, but the yoga field and young people and the energy that is the future around mindfulness. Here we are, it's a political year, it's quite a circus, and I don't think anybody has thought about or turned on a TV to see political things that are going on. I kind of kid people that a lot of people right now are suffering from what I call political dysphoric syndrome, PDS. So what's amazing, we've been at this conference for 3 days, and no one has turned on the TV to look at what's going on. And this is where the real connection is.
Yes, I am right with you. The energy here is magnificent, and it's really about that connection, the human connection, and you really can feel it at this conference.
Well, I have to give credit to Tara Brach, who spent a whole day on forgiveness and the sense of how we close our heart because we're fearful of getting hurt. And if you watch the media and the shootings and what's going on in the Middle East and a variety of things like that, you can get really discouraged and close off your heart and be reactive. And it's sad and it's hurtful. So that this is so important in that people are leaving here with a sense of connection, a sense of opening their heart, that after hearing Tara Brach for most of the day, most of the participants, if not all, are opening their heart to people. And you can feel the growth, the healthiness, and living in a society where stress is a big factor. This is the best stress reducer: meditation, mindfulness, compassion. So it's integral, and it's important, and it's growing, and we see it in the school system. We see it in the psychological field, where we train therapists to work with their clients and individuals. We even see it in some levels of the political realm. Representative Ryan is a meditator and a mindfulness teacher. So, it's interesting. It'd be nice if politicians learn to be mindful and learn to be more caring and make connection rather than creating distance.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. It's one drop is 1,000 waves. It will come. It will come because, like 10 years ago, that word mindfulness, we hardly ever heard it, and compassion. Though there are different cultures that practice it.
Right.
We hardly ever heard of it, especially here in the Western Hemisphere.
Right.
And now it's just been a real thrill, year after year to just hear those words spoken. And that is already one level of awareness, isn't it?
Yes. It's a new level of consciousness. It's a better way of living life. It's a spiritual practice without sectarian, religious, you can have that. And I think people don't know what it really is. And once more and more people experience it, there'll be more and more potentiation of caring and connection and hope.
Yes.
Hope, is a big thing. The hat I'm wearing is a Chinese description for patience. So hope, patience, mindfulness, and caring for one another in a respectful, compassionate way, loving kindness. So we have a variety of the top speakers come and talk about these issues, death and dying, a variety of issues.
So now, how many conferences do you hold a year? Because I have read that this is not just once a year, but you have conferences elsewhere as well. Is that correct?
Right. We do our San Diego conference next year will be March 2nd to the 4th. Here in San Diego, and then we do workshops and skill building workshops. So we're in Seattle with Kristen Neff and Chris Germer are doing a 2-day on self-compassion, which if you don't have self-compassion or develop it, it's very hard to be compassionate towards others. Absolutely. And along with that, the sense of self-acceptance, that we shame ourselves, we beat ourselves up, rather than recognize, there's anger, there's rage, there's sadness, there's reaction. So the reactive emotions of anger, criticism, and impatience drive us to do things that push people away. And the ability to put that at arm's length and say, there's anger. I don't have to react to anger. Matter of fact, I push people away for protection. And for disappointment, and for lack of fulfillment, and feeling misjudged. So to recognize that and say, I don't have to perpetuate that by pushing people away. And it's not easy. I can tell you personally, it's not easy.
Well, but also, I do believe that sometimes when we're brought up, when we're raised, we have certain tools that we're given as children, and those tools sometimes they're hard to break, what we've formed with them.
Yeah, the cycle of abuse, the cycle of rage and shame has been conditioned from previous generations. The good news is this generation, especially the young generation, is learning a better way. And children who are learning mindfulness and meditation in schools are learning a better, more patient way of dealing with emotions. And probably the key element is stress.
That's it.
Because stress leads to reactivity.
Yes.
And pain leads to reactivity. So it's a healing process. It's an acceptance process. And the acceptance that it's not perfect, that we all struggle with this. This is very hard to do. It's not easy. It's not easy. And the issue of suffering and relieving suffering, and the Four Noble Truths that you can relieve suffering. And with that, stress.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, it's beautiful. The unfolding.
Yes, and one of the things that I did is I noticed that the speakers that we had would have their favorite quote. So one of the ones that actually it was Sylvia Boorstein at a retreat said, "I am the source of most of my suffering because of the habits of my mind." I said, wow. I am the source of most of my suffering because of the habits of my mind.
Oh, brilliant.
Isn't it?
Brilliant.
So we cause our own suffering with these habits that we have from our family of origin to protect ourselves.
Yes.
And they're not necessary. We need to set boundaries, but we don't need to create our own suffering. So what I did is I asked all of our FACES speakers to come up with their favorite quote, the lesson for that quote, and a mindfulness practice for the week. Oh. And we put it in 2 different books. We did the first one, which was 52 quotes, living with more mindfulness in your life. And it came together, it was like a gestalt. All these speakers were kind enough to give us these lessons and put it in that book. And then we came back the next year and did another book called 52 Quotes, Living with More Compassion, or Developing More Compassion in Your Life.
Oh, wonderful.
And they're inexpensive books, and it's a way to get that message out to people and have a practice where you can have these quotes and remind yourself that this is this reactivity and this will pass, and part of the pain is working through that suffering.
Yes.
And having the resiliency to do that, which creates dramatic growth. So we can't eliminate suffering, we can't eliminate the pain, the stress, but we can certainly learn to deal with it more effectively.
Living with balance.
And that's the other part of it, is it's not only the mindfulness, it's also the body, it's the life balance, it's the stress balance. And we had a speaker once who said, most people either love exercising or hate exercising. And he said the reason for that is the people who love exercise have gotten to a level where they get the reinforcement that the stress is reduced and they feel great and they want to do it. Whereas if you have not gotten to the level where you get that positive endorphin, dopamine reinforcement, you're not going to do it.
That's right.
So I used to kid patients that had depressions and anxiety that they need to do LSD. And they'd look at me like, well, what are you, Timothy Leary? What's going on? I said, long, slow distance walking. Just get out of your house and walk for 45 minutes. And your mood will change, your reactivity will change. So mindfulness is a whole body experience. It is a balancing experience. It's a life balancing experience. And it's also a looking inward and looking at what's the meaning in your life. Like what you're doing is very meaningful. And we make sacrifices for those meaningful experiences because they give us purpose. And once we lose purpose, we lose hope.
There you go.
So.
Right on the button.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Fields, how can people find out more about your organization, about where to purchase your books, how to support your organization?
That's very easy. Just go to facesconferences.com. So it's faces, F-A with an S, conferences with an S.com. You could purchase the books online with us. You can get them in Amazon. But if you want to find out about the retreats and the conferences and what we're doing and get involved, just go to facesconferences.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time with us and really sharing, gifting us with your expertise and continuing these conferences for all the world, really. Thank you.
Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Oh, it's our pleasure, really. Oh, of course, always. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us here. Christina Suzuma with YHTV, yogahub.tv. And please look up Faces Conferences. It's magnificent, the work that they're doing, and all the speakers that are involved as well. Until next time, namaste.
The most foundational and one of my personal favorites is the Certificate in Positive Psychology. This is our foundational program because it's a long-term positive change aspect. So it's a 12-month program. It has 10 modules, 2 of which are on site, 8 of which are online.
Wonderful.
Yeah, because if you're going to instill change over a long period of time, it's not just learning about it, but it's actually engaging in habits and behavior change that support you in the direction that you wish to head.